KC's Audio Vault.
Tim McIlrath of Rise Against, June 9th, 2011.
Casey.
Hello, Tim. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent.
Do you have a little time at home right now before you hit the road again?
I'm actually in Fort Collins, Colorado, back up at the studio, just sort of doing some work up here.
How was the K-Rock Weenie Roast in L.A.? I guess that wasn't too long ago.
I think the most important part or memorable part of that K-Rock Weenie Roast was that they put us all in the same hotel as the Furry convention.
Those are the people that dress up in mascot costumes and then have sex with each other?
Exactly, yeah. So I've been trying to explain what the Furries are to people as, like, I walked into that hotel lobby and have walked out a different person 3 days later. So it was certainly interesting to watch the K-Rock radio crowd mingle with people dressed up in 6-foot-tall animal costumes. It was pretty fascinating. There's going to be some pretty unexplainable pictures of me on the internet this week too. I'm going to have a hard time trying to explain what I was doing.
Was that your introduction to furries?
For the most part, I've read about them in passing, just and what they are in pop culture, and kind of in disbelief. I've always sort of read about them thinking, this journalist is obviously blowing up something that must be much smaller than this. But I got to see it head on, and I now at least believe in its reality.
Was there a favorite costume?
Some of them were like latexy, which I was like, there ain't nothing furry about latex, That was interesting. I watched one of them jump into the pool at the hotel, like full on, and then proceed to like play basketball with some other people, except the two guys playing basketball were just in their suits, and then the one guy was dressed as a blue bunny, with the head on and everything, just playing in the pool. So that was pretty interesting. I don't know. It was madness, man. There are many layers to this that I left there with more questions than answers. That's for sure.
Bad Religion played that show. Do they still put on a good stage show?
Yeah, we just got off the road with Bad Religion. We did 5 weeks with them, and then we just saw them 2 weeks later, so it kind of felt like we were back on tour together. They always put on a great show. They never disappoint. Fat Mike has dubbed them the best band in punk rock. He has a list of 1 through 5 of the best bands in punk rock. I think Bad Religion is number 1. I think Rancid is number 2. I think NoFX is number 3. And I think he actually put us at number 4. So we were happy to be considered. But I think I agree with them being one of the best bands in punk rock. They just put on a pretty incredible show consistent each time.
Is Greg Graffin a guy you kind of look up to throughout your career?
Yeah, he's someone that has found a way to create compelling music that fuses politics with still really interesting songs. I think that when you're talking about issues like progress and change and awareness in politics, you run the risk of writing an incredibly boring song, or stuff that won't be that compelling to an audience. And I think that someone like Graffin has the gift of melody and songwriting along with the intellect to put together something that can make a pretty powerful statement and still do it with a catchy chorus.
And continuing to learn, to teach, he's a friggin' doctor of punk rock.
Yeah, he is. He's one of those guys that when you talk to him and tries to explain what he's doing or what he has done, it immediately makes you feel like the laziest person on the planet. You're just like, wow, you've done more like this morning than I've done in the last 10 years of my life.
Have you ever thought of going back to university?
Actually, I have, and I would love to. The school was something I wasn't into at the time, but now that I've gotten some distance from it, I appreciate it a lot more. And it's kind of one of the things that I look forward to doing is kind of going back and taking some of those classes again, or learning more. I think it'll be fun. I don't really have any ambition to teach or to be a professor at someone like Graffin's level, but I think just the process of learning. I feel like being in this band for the last 10 years, I've done a lot of talking, and I'm ready to kind of sit back and do a lot of listening.
Being so busy with the constant tour cycle and then writing cycle, are there certain things that you wish you had more time to do, or things that you want to set aside later in life for you to do?
I think something like school is one of them, and certainly spending time with my family, is an important one. That's something that I would love for this band to be a vehicle to allow me to do that, to find that balance between music and my passions, but also spending time with my kids and that kind of thing. And also to show them, like, here's what following your passion looks like. Like, check it out. Like, the sky's the limit.
Are your daughters picky eaters? Because you're a vegetarian, and I had read somewhere that you're raising them as vegetarians as well.
True.
Are they up for that?
Yeah. I think they're up for it. Like they're up for it right now. You know what I mean? And my 7-year-old is pretty into it. She's almost like too vocal about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't walk into restaurants condemning people for their choices, but sometimes she does. And so I'm always like, hey, kiddo, what you've done is your choice, but it's not very appropriate to go condemning people for their own choices. So I'm trying to there's a lot of nuances to explain to her. Whether it's any kind of stance you take on anything. But also at some point that will be her choice. My parents, when I was too young to make the decision, my parents decided to raise me a meat eater, and I ate meat for, all of my adolescence. And when I was old enough, I made a decision for myself to stop doing it. And I think just like that, when my kids were too young, I made the decision for them to be raised vegetarians. And when they get old enough, the decision will be theirs if they want to continue that or to do whatever they want to do.
Just don't yell at the kid at the next table who's eating the chicken fingers.
Exactly, and that's kind of a whole nother. That's a whole other department. That's just etiquette, I guess. And so that'll be the next chapter in her adolescence.
Well, Rise Against coming through Winnipeg again, October 6th, MTS Center. Tickets are on sale tomorrow. The Power 97 pre-sale's on right now. You kind of had us worried. You always tour through Canada, but when the European tour was announced, then the one with the Foo Fighters, we weren't sure if Rise Against would actually make it through the prairie, so we're very happy about that.
I'm really happy too, and I'm sorry to have made Canadians wait so long. It was something that I was watching our tour plans unfold, and I'm looking, I'm just like, where's Canada? Like, we can't make Canada wait. And to be honest, at one point there was a plan for us to not tour Canada until much later, and it was like, no, we can't come to Canada 8 months after our record is out. Like, that's just rude. We need to get there sooner. And so we can't wait. It took a while to make sure we had the right bands, the right package, Flogging Molly and Black Pacific, and to get everyone available. But I think it's going to be well worth the wait. I'm really excited about that lineup. I think it's going to be awesome.
So I'm guessing you guys chose the openers?
Yeah, it's funny, and I guess I think it's a common myth in sort of rock is that bands like us don't choose the openers. Like, any band you've ever seen us play a show with, unless it's like a giant radio festival that we're just a part of, we pick the opener. We've handpicked every single band we go on the road with. It's like a really conscious decision, and sometimes a really painstaking decision, and even battles between the four of us to take out these bands. But we always take out bands, that we feel our fans would enjoy and that bring something to the table.
Any other bands that you've been listening to lately? Fans always want to hear what their favorite bands have in their iPod.
All I've been listening to is Propagandhi lately. I'll be honest.
Well, that's a good answer because we're in Winnipeg.
I know. I don't think I'm telling anybody in Winnipeg anything new. But, especially being here at the Blasting Room, which is where Propagandhi did their last record supporting cast, Bill was talking about, some of his favorite records that he had done there. And I was just telling him, hands down, the best record that ever walked out of the studio is Supporting Cast by Propagandhi.
Nice. You're going to make all the punk rock fans in Winnipeg happy with that.
They're a brilliant and underrated band, and I think they're so important in punk rock culture to this day.
Are you a Facebook and Twitter kind of guy? Do you mess with that stuff?
I don't. I haven't. The band certainly does. We have the Facebook account for the band and all that stuff, and I understand that it's neat, to communicate with our fans, especially our younger fans, who have kind of the language they speak. But for me, I don't do it. I don't have a Twitter or a Facebook. I never had a MySpace. I never had any of that stuff.
Is that a concern? Because at this point, a lot of people live their lives online, and then there's privacy issues, and then there's the security breaches. Right. It seems like every other week we hear about something like that.
I mean, part of it's privacy, but let's be honest, I sing for Rise Against, there's not a lot of privacy in my life, I advertise on a website called riseagainst.com where I am every day pretty much, so some part of it is privacy. Some part of it is it's just not the way I would choose to interact with my closest friends. You know what I mean? It's not the way that I think that I want my friends to find out that, I went camping last weekend. You know what I mean? I want to tell them that. You know what I mean? I want to have a conversation about that, and I want them to know it because we talked about it, not because they saw my Twitter update.
We're going to play the new Rise Against single, and any story behind Make It Stop?
Yeah, Make It Stop is a song that's addressing everything from homophobia in the rock scene to the gay teen suicides of September 2010, when a wave of gay teenagers across North America killed themselves. It was just a song that I felt like I wanted to address for our gay fans in the audience who either A, weren't sure where Rise Against stood on this, or even fans that we have in our audience who might condemn that lifestyle. Because I think that if you're someone who would condemn someone's own personal choice, especially in terms of their sexuality, then I don't think that a place like the Rise Against community is for you.
Well, Tim, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Rise Against hitting MTS Center October 6th. The pre-sale's on now. Everybody else can start buying them tomorrow through Ticketmaster.ca. Thank you so much for calling the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. We can't wait to play a show finally.
All the interviews you want on iTunes and at Power97.com. Casey's Audio Vault.
Casey Norman is Power 97's music director and can be heard every weekday from 2 till 6 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Power 97 is Winnipeg's best rock.